so it's good for them to be trained in doing it. Also, they're often more likely to be around in the village when something goes wrong, as opposed to some of the men who may be away from the village. It doesn't matter, whoever you train, you need them to be around and able to do the maintenance when necessary. So this is our last section of rod. So this won't go right the way down because we've added the fishing tool on the bottom of it. My fishing tool is now reached the bottom, so I just need to manipulate it a bit until I feel that I've got the foot valve hooked onto it. And if I pull the foot valve out, my water level should fall down. Let's just see that water level falling down, is it?
Yes.
Well, we may have got it. We'll try. Lift it up. I didn't think we caught it, but we did. We've caught it. But you can see how this eye here has actually hooked onto the hook of the fishing tool to secure it. And you can see also on the foot valve this bottom seal, which stops water going past the outside of the valve. And there's a poppet valve within the foot valve housing which actually provides the seal. So if we compare that with the piston, you can see that they're identical components. They're both the same plastic component. It's just that one of them has a piston seal in it. This one hasn't got that. This one is the piston, so this has the piston seal. The foot valve has an O-ring in it. The piston doesn't have an O-ring in it. So let me just show you how this secures in the cylinder. We normally don't need to remove the cylinder from the hole. This is a cylinder, and at the bottom of the cylinder we have a plastic rebate which this clips into. So if I drop this down the cylinder here, you can now see how it has clipped into the bottom. So those lugs are slightly flexible and they've clipped in to the bottom of this cylinder. So foot valve housing won't move, it's just the rubber valve within foot valve housing which is going to move. So that's quite safe in there. To get it out, we've got to go fishing with our fishing tool. So what we're doing, we're pushing that tool down until we capture onto the foot valve. We can then pull the foot valve out from the lugs that we're holding it, because these are slightly flexible. So very quickly we've taken out the parts we need to do the main maintenance on, downhole parts. We can remove this rubber seal here using a nail or a penknife. To remove the valve, we just use thumb pressure and we can press it out of the side of the piston. So it's very easy to replace those items. So we just push on the piston seal from this side. There's a bevel shape. We push it over there and eventually it would go into place. And we just use thumb pressure again to get our valve into the piston. So that's ready for reinstalling. If we needed to do maintenance on the foot valve, we'd roll off this O-ring here, replace it. We'd again use thumb pressure to press the valve out from the side, and then we will be able to replace that. So this is all corrosion resistant stainless steel eye, and everything else is plastic. You can get brass components for the Afridev as an alternative. When I talk about the India Mark II, you'll see me talk about the U3, which uses a very similar, well, identical valve to the Afridev, and it's one brass system. This is the foot valve with an O-ring seal at the bottom, and the piston is similar diameter to the Afridev and has again a poppet valve. These two are designed so they can screw together. When we screw them together, the valve in here is slightly lifted, so when we pull it out, water can pass through the valve and around the outside here. So you can get various different components for the Afridev. So when you're ordering, you need to check against the standard specification to make sure you've got what you want. On some of the Afridevs there have been problems with this seal, which is made from a U-shaped section of rubber. There's a rebate all the way around on that seal, and sometimes this can roll off. On the more recent designs, the seal is solid, which means it can't roll off. It's not so flexible, but it's safer because it won't roll off. Before we put things back, I just want to talk a little bit about how we first install the pipe. So the pipe is of a 63mm diameter, and the pipe is of UPVC with sockets and spigots as joints. This is actually a piece that goes below the cylinder. On the top you would have a socket which joins this onto another section of pipe all the way up to the surface, where at the top, this pipe's coming all the way up, we have a conical shaped rubber support which is seated in a conical shaped metal support. So that's at this point here where the middle flange is on the pump head. So that's how the plastic pipe is being hung from the top. A small piece of pipe is glued around this pipe just so it doesn't slip out. As we're installing the pipe, we don't want it to come unglued, so we lower it down using a rope which we pass through these holes in the entry pipe which is below the cylinder. So we put a rope through here, put a knot on one side, a knot on the other side, then we can lower the pipe in and keep gluing new sections on, and we don't put tension on those glued joints because the rope is supporting it. The rope is slightly elastic, so after a while it's not going to support the pipe, so in operation it's not going to really help very much. And on very long rising mains, the elasticity of the pipes does mean that they actually will elongate. So for deeper settings than 45 meters, you need what's known as a bottom support to support the bottom of the pipe to stop it bouncing, because that makes the pumping inefficient.